Ernie O'Donnell and all the Kevin Smith's movie. He's from all the Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah.
And I'm just a naturally curious person. So I like to learn how things work and I ask questions. A week on to my first film set, not TV set, but film set, my questions ended up leading to finding out some things that terminated a person's, part on the team there. And they came to me and said, would you be the production manager and run the whole production? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you do know that, like, you guys have been in the industry for Ernie. I was like, you were the one who taught me how to curse when I was watching your movie and like in my friend's basement. Like, you've been in this business for so long. And he's like, they all believed in me and they knew that I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm like, I have an opportunity and I ordered Filmmaking for Dummies. And now that's streaming live on Amazon Prime and Vudu, iTunes. It's on like 27 platforms right now, currently. So, I mean, it's funny. I'm a big component of just, if there's an opportunity, and you want to take it, even if you don't know, just take it, because worst things that can happen really was just that, okay, I suck and I realize I don't want to do this, but I never had any intention on doing this. My business partner, Mark Denenbaum, who I ended up, right after all of the filming, we kind of partnered up. And he was like, you're a producer. And I'm like, no, I'm not, because, I was in the live TV broadcasting world as a live news director. And the producers there, sat next to you in the control room. And, you're usually like, no, move this, no, hurry up. You're usually telling them what to do. Or they're just, running the show and you're just paying attention because it's live. And, so I had no idea what a film producer was, but my business partner's like, you're a producer, you're a producer. And once he finally showed me and talked me into it, I was like, holy shit, I'm a producer. Like, I didn't even know, I just, like, it was a natural thing for me. And then right after 100 Acres of Hell, I went and I produced alongside Academy Award winning producer director Robert May down in Haiti. We did a documentary that after it debuted at the national conference in 2016, it raised even like $2 million or something just within 20 minutes, and then more along the way. But we were able to build like a whole 14-acre thing with security and self-sustaining agriculture and schools and internet and homes and running water and for these orphans down in Haiti in less than a year. And I still keep in touch with them and the translator. And so my passion, really, and my team's passion, we like to give a voice to people who wouldn't have otherwise have been heard. So, I mean, we're really passionate about the documentary side of things, but we've, my business partner, Mark, he was on the first 2 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, in production. He's worked with every major studio. He did Hotel for Dogs. He was on Scrubs, Heroes, 24, Elementary. I mean, the top shows in the world out in LA. And, he decided after a few years, he's like, I'm going to come back and start my own company. And then, over time, him and I just met up in Scranton, because in Scranton and in the Poconos, it's not Hollywood. So everyone always told you, you have to leave. And it's not, I mean, it's a coal mining town. And, my parents were factory workers. My dad was hurt. I mean, the area is not, it's not a rich area. So you just have to kind of, make lemonade out of duct tape sometimes. But to see that he had the same mentality as I did, as, let's build something here so that other people, don't have to move away from their families. We can have our families here. And of course, because everybody said we couldn't do it, you bet your freaking ass that's where our hub is going to be. And that's where I'm planting my ass. So yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy, awesome, fun experience. And we're working on a bunch of stuff, but we've also done commercials, like for Toyota for the Super Bowl a few years, Paralympic Games. It's just so fun and to do a little bit of everything.
Now, I had mentioned at the beginning of the show that you had done some work with the Olympics.
Yep.
What is that like for you? I mean, this is one of those events that it's global and everybody tunes in and everybody watches these things.
Well, So at the end of it, I ended up getting a flesh-eating parasite. Just
Oh.
don't forget, all of the people from all over the world come to one place. Um,
Mhm.
Honestly, I was scared to death because my husband passed away when I was 28 in the end of 2011, and the Olympics were the summer of 2012. But and I went to school at Oxford, so I also knew that like terrorists wouldn't be flying in; they would be walking down the street from Oxford or Cambridge.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's like when you work in the media, you've seen everything go wrong probably at least once, so it's always in the back of your mind. And I just remember my oldest son, he was like 7 at the time, and he said, because I almost didn't go because I was afraid, since I was the only parent left. And my son's like, my friends said their parents could have done this and they could have done that, but I want to say that my mom did do that. And I'm like, holy shit, kid. Like, oh my God, like, where did, oh my God. So I wasn't there for the entire 6 weeks. And I was just freelancing because I was still working for ABC. So working for NBC was like,
Nope.
it was fun, but I'm like, listen, I'm taking this opportunity. I don't care because it's the biggest event of the year, like of broadcasting. Um, and it
Yeah.
was incredible. I mean, I've met people from all over the place. Just in total, I've worked in like 47 countries in broadcasting while I was in it. And it was awesome. But yeah, they say there's no broads in broadcasting too, right? So like that's why when I fell, skinned my knee, I was working on the sailing Olympics down in Portsmouth and Weymouth. And so when I was bleeding, I'm just like, no, just put a band-aid on it, no big deal, because again, if you're gonna want equality, you gotta, make it equal. So I have no problem busting my ass. I grew up on a farm. This is nothing. Like baling hay, and I mean, geez, walking headfirst into electric fences and getting bit by animals. That was my childhood. So this is like whatever. But in the event, I know Meredith Vieira ended up getting the same exact thing. It's like almost like a cousin to like scabies, but it was in the water or something. And so, it was terrible, but it was
Wow.
like one of those things that eats the epidermis layer of your skin, and the side effects of the lotion you put on was like cancer and leukemia, and I'm like, oh, isn't this
Oh my
so,
gosh.
isn't it wonderful? No, but and then it was nice. I got asked to work at a bunch of the other ones following that, but sometimes it's just you just I just did one and done. And I'm like, I know I could if I want to. And, I don't have to do everything anymore. And just to know that I could do it. And, sometimes knowing you're good enough is just good enough. And that's the same with a lot of different jobs. And I've turned down, even though, they've offered it to me and they were like, you said this was your dream job. And I'm like, I know. But sometimes just knowing you're good enough is good enough. Just, I'm not going to move my whole family after I just lost my husband, overseas. And but I still get to do the best of both worlds. I still produce for a lot of the people over there, so I'm usually over in Europe about at least like 5 times a year, all over the place. Last year I did a thing on Normandy for the 75th anniversary.
Mhm.
I was doing Land Rover stuff outside of Birmingham. I was working with the Queen's Charity, and I got Oxford involved on a homeless documentary that we're hoping to still continue to do after the COVID stuff. And it's just I'm one of those people that likes. It's not even thinking outside the box. I don't. There's no fucking box. Like if you want a triangle, if you want a can of tuna fish, think outside of it. I don't care. But I'm constantly trying to just, uh, you know, people think I'm nuts, but at least I'm thinking and I'm trying new things and looking at different ways how to do stuff because everybody does it. Everybody does the same thing. They're like, you got to do it this way. It's like, no, you don't, because if I followed the rules, I wouldn't be here, and I'd still be listening or tell the people who pointed their finger at me, when I was at rock bottom and all that kind of shit too. So just been,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to fail, and that's why people call me dangerous now, I guess. Well, that's what they told me. So,
That's amazing. And it sounds like you've done so many things, over the years. And is there anything that you haven't checked off of the list of things that you want to do,
yeah. Well,
coming up, Like,
I'm when I was at Oxford, I was also taking 70 to 100 Vicodin a day for about 5 years. So I, hit my rock bottom at the number one school in the world.
mhm.
And this was 17 years ago. So I've been clean for 17 years off of hard drugs. Like it was mostly opioids, but it wasn't an epidemic or a problem then. So when I went to ask for help, it was like, well, I wasn't underage drinking. It wasn't heroin or marijuana. I had a prescription for it, and it was like nobody knew what to do. And it was a process. But I did, the whole world turned their back against me, and I bounced back. And then, you know, my husband, after he got out of the military, he was in the Navy, and he had PTSD, and so he died of a heroin overdose. And I found out the person who had shot him up, because my husband wasn't that kind of person. He had only done it, I guess, once or twice. But I reached out to the person and said, listen, I want to talk to you when you can. And he reached back out to me, and I picked him up at the halfway house the next day. I took him for lunch and said, I'll help you if you could be the father to your two sons and the husband to your wife that my husband could no longer be. Because I know what that's like to be, kicking you when you're down. No one wants to help you. Everyone's telling you you're a failure. And, I remember him saying, like, you're the one person who's supposed to hate me, and you're the only person willing to help me. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man. I never follow the rules. Like, I always root for the underdog. And, if I sent him back to prison, that would be home to him, because that's what he knows. He's been tossed around his whole life. And it's like, he's now been clean for almost 9 years. He was shooting 50 plus bags a day. He was the worst of all of them. Wow. There were 4 of them. And now he's the only one left. And all the other ones died of a heroin overdose. And I haven't even seen him in 2 years. So I have I've proved that the only thing more powerful than drugs is love and forgiveness. And it sustained itself without me holding his hand. So, and everyone thought I was nuts. They're like, I can't believe you're going to forgive him. And now they're all friends with them. And I mean, that's what life's all about, man. Like, you got to make a difference. You got to be, and why the hell would I care? Now, all those people that, point their fingers at me, if I would have listened to them, I'd be exactly where they are. But those people aren't at rock bottom, but they're not at the top either, And
well, it actually, that story that you just told, touches back earlier in our conversation, where you can't change the past, but you can learn from it and be better for the future. And it sounds like you've been living those lessons for a long time.
Yeah, not only the personal growth, like such amazing things, but because you open up and you're sharing and you're willing to forgive and move forward, you're making a difference in not one person's life, but his kids and his wife, and that continues to spread outwards. And there's that ripple effect of one person's kindness. And it's truly what this world needs, is more of that.
It's perspective. If somebody tells you or shows you a way to think differently instead of negatively, then maybe, because I'm not gonna. He took my husband, like my husband's life's gone, but I gave him a life, and that makes me happy to see him be able to go do that, because I want to make something good come from something bad, and I was perfectly going into that. He could have told me to go fuck myself, and I was totally fine with it, because forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for you. And I got my shit back, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to try it out, because I know what that feels like. So
well, and you could have easily held on to that hate and that anger, and you know what I mean? You took the much harder route, in my opinion.
Then I'd be like everyone else is fucking miserable. And when I got to the top, all the people I talked to, I realized they all at least dipped their toe in rock bottom, if not been there themselves. And the people pointing their fingers, they're still there pointing their fingers, until now all of a sudden, when other people stood up for me, like, without me even being there, holy crap. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd see that. But, then all of a sudden the finger just turns a little bit, a different angle towards someone else. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
It's like, if this is, oh, you're supposed to fail. How do you explain me then? And like, when they ask me for tickets to the concerts for their kids, I say, absolutely. I absolutely do. And 10 times out of 10, they're like, I apologize for the past. Don't worry about it, man. Just be a better example. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Leave the world.
Start today.
Toothless blind people.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with that mentality. It's fantastic.
So yeah, that's my one project. I figured, if I freaking live through this shit, like, I just want to, you know, do a film that's, and we are writing one right now based off of my life. And I'm not trying to, I don't like the attention and all that, but